Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Rachel. I am the Strategic Account Manager for MethodGrid and this is GRIDtalk. Today we are discussing the fascinating topic of integrating learning with delivery, and I am joined by my wonderful colleague, a manager from our professional services team, Alice Holden. Good afternoon, Alice.
Hello, good afternoon everybody and welcome.
So our GRIDtalk series is essentially all about giving back. We want to share best practice with our community and ensure we're giving back as much as you're giving to us. So for those of you that are new here, I know some of you have joined many of our series and we appreciate you joining us again. Let me tell you a little bit about what MethodGrid is. So MethodGrid is an AI-empowered knowledge and project management platform. We work for a whole host of different clients, all the way up to large infrastructure, all the way through to boutique consultancy firms, learning delivery, COSEC clients, and all the things in between. The use cases for MethodGrid are vast and varied. So why do people come to us? The problem statements that we hear often are listed here 1 to 8. So often is relating to inconsistent delivery, overall effectiveness not being quite as high as it potentially could be, people often reinventing the wheel because they don't know where to find the assets, and staff taking a long time to discover your way of working. But what does that actually mean in reality? So what that means is that even if we have a whole host of lovely IP, all of our assets built, we have templates, we have best practice examples, do we actually know that our community of practice are following those processes, are using those templates? Is what we think is happening actually happening in our real world? More often than not, what we find is people are lost at sea. Things are really difficult to find. We don't know where the knowledge is captured. We don't know what platforms we're supposed to be using. So people end up reinventing the wheel. Also, people end up firefighting. Those that have done those deliveries in the past are the ones that get bombarded with questions, the ones that are always having to find those assets for people. And so everyone becomes less productive than what they could be. This also leads to what we call the shelfware trap. To try and fix those kinds of problems, we layer tech upon tech. Everyone's using a different platform. Nobody really knows if we're all delivering the same way, if it's all being delivered consistency, and if our high standards are actually being met. So, what do we do about this problem? For us, it's all about building world-class playbooks. So playbooks bring all of that fantastic knowledge and IP that you have together with the tasks and delivery tools that you need to do the service delivery. This doesn't just sit in the project landscape. This can relate to knowledge as a standalone item, whether you want to codify your SOPs, have your staff onboarding codified, and of course, all the way through to project and service delivery. Of course, today we are talking about integrating learning into all of those things as well, which can just completely increase and really change the way people think about using that knowledge in delivery. So how do we do that? Our integrated design, of course, bringing all of that knowledge together with all of your tasks in the one place, so people know exactly where they need to go, they know exactly what they need to do, and they also know exactly how to do it. Our innovative Grid UX is the fantastic way to present all this knowledge. It means that it's structured in a logical way, that people know how to follow the process through, know exactly where they are in the process, and also gives that high-level executive oversight so that we know that we're tracking compliance and that people are doing the things that they should be doing at the time they should be doing it. Not only that, but using our playbook design, which can be cloned into delivery instances, means that lessons learned actually mean something. Anything that's gone well, anything that hasn't gone particularly well, those things can all be pushed back into your master grids, and lessons learned becomes a real thing for your business. Also, it means that you avoid that shelfware trap. Your playbooks don't just sit gathering digital dust on a shelf. They are an ever-evolving asset that just becomes better and better over time. And then, of course, we have our full analytics suite, so you'll be able to see what all of your community of practice is doing at any one time, but also learning lessons from your data as well, pinpointing where things are going wrong, seeing where things are going right, and making sure that we're capturing all of those precious lessons. So before we get into our subject of the day, for those of you that have not used Livestorm before, you will note that down in the bottom right of your screen, you have your chat bot. Please feel free to just pop in any chats, any ideas, any thoughts that you have. But if you have any specific questions for us, we also have a questions button just below that chat box. So please pop in any questions there. And at the end of the session, we will run through a Q&A together. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my wonderful colleague, Alice, to take you through the subjects.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rachel. So today we are here to talk about integrating learning and delivery, or as we like to call it, snackable learning. You'll see throughout the course of this presentation, there is a food theme. We are looking to see how we are breaking microlearning down into really small chunks of information that is really transforming the way in which people learn. So what is microlearning? Microlearning is a teaching and training approach that delivers content in small, easily digestible chunks. But before we dive into what that looks like in terms of how we go about doing that in a MetaGrid sense, we're going to just look a bit about the theory. So where has the concept of microlearning come from? So microlearning isn't a new thing. So microlearning has been around for numerous years. So the first thing that we're going to look at is what we call chunking. So there was a chap called George A. Miller in the 50s who wrote an article, a paper about microlearning, or what it's now called microlearning. And in his paper, the power of 7 plus or minus 2, he talked about the number 7, and actually our short-term memory can only process 7 components, plus or minus 2. So it's really important to break information down into those small chunks, or chunking. The next theory is around spacing effect. Do you ever rewind to an exam where you sat there the night before cramming the content into your mind? You sit down at your exam table and you think, I knew I read that, I knew I looked at it, but what do I actually remember? So this is the spacing effect. The spacing effect says that actually your memory and your mind remembers information if it's absorbed over the course of a period of time. So actually that cramming, that frantic cramming before that exam doesn't pay off. You do not actually remember any content that you read. So actually when we look to think about microlearning, short, digestible chunks of information over the course of time helps us remember. And finally, the constructivist approach, or constructivism. So what this theory lends itself to is that we do not learn passively. We learn through experience. We learn through applying what we know at the time of when we need it. We'll come to this and why this is important a bit later, but these are some of the foundations in which microlearning came from. All these different thinkers contributing to what we know today. However, this didn't happen by itself. Where we are today has been massively enabled by the digital revolution, or the World Wide Web. So in 1993, when the World Wide Web took us all by storm, microlearning was embedded even at the start, right at the beginning, in the form of YouTube. So 3 chaps who left, it was PayPal at the time, formed YouTube, thinking, okay, well actually there's a space in the market to to capture and deliver video content to the masses, and this is where it was born. So even at that stage, video content, or learning nuggets, was starting to trickle through into our everyday ways of working. And now we're sat here. I'm sure quite a lot of you use Duolingo or apps to help you learn. This is all embedded in how we learn today. So some of the key things that we can take out of that feed into microlearning. So microlearning needs to be concise, really short bits of information that people can understand, not War and Peace. Needs to be learner-centric. So we need to give people exactly the type of learning materials and how they want to learn. So whether that's through a video explainer, whether that's through some interactive quizzes or questions, whether that's through a modular course that guides people through it, or whether that is actually integrating learning and delivery. So it needs to be learner-centric, focused on what the learner wants. So we can gamify learning. Learning doesn't have to be static, doesn't have to be stale learning modules that are sat there. We can make them fun. Learning should be fun. And through the likes of Duolingo that you see, I'm sure you've used, you can start to do leaderboards, you can have prizes, you can actually start to take that learner-centric, concise information that we've got through microlearning and make it fun for users to do. By taking the constructivism approach, as we talked about in terms of the theory, you can actually bring this learning to life through real-world examples. So this is incorporating people's everyday ways of working, practices into the learning to make it really real for people, to make it really understandable and relatable. And finally, it needs to be modular. People need to be able to chop and change and construct their own learning journeys through this micro-learning. They need to be able to shape the learning to how they want to understand the content. Okay, so what does this actually mean? How do we integrate this learning and delivery? So you see from the last overview there that we've got microlearning broken down into those component chunks. It'd be learner-centric, it's concise, it's modular. But actually, when we combine that with our playbook concept Rach just talked about earlier, that we can provide structure and a framework around those component chunks in a way that really gives people the information they need exactly when they need it. So let's take a look at what this looks like. So here you can see a typical delivery playbook. For some of you, it will be really relatable in terms of some of the products that you'd see in terms of a project or program delivery playbook. So we've got our stages of a life cycle across the top, our themes along the bottom, which outline our project program management, our governance items, etc. But say I'm a user wanting to understand about risk management. And I see here that in my guidance and training stage that I'm going to click into my risk management component. I've read a little bit about what it's for. I've understood my key lessons learned. But actually here, I've embedded my e-learning content into the element itself. So I can look, I can scroll through, but I can actually enlarge that e-learning module and interact with it directly within the playbook itself. So I can start my section, I can read the content, I can play my video explainers. This is all a modular course. All the contents sat here is related to microlearning. And I can also share this with individuals and users around my organisation to say, actually, this is a fantastic bit of e-learning, fantastic bit of learning that I want to share with you to make sure that you know that it's there too. Once I've interacted with this course, I've looked around, I've gone through, I've answered my questions, I can just close it, minimize the window, and go back to the relevant component in the module itself. So this is us really bringing to life the content that sits behind a playbook itself. So I, as a user, can interact with it, learn, digest, but then also equally go back to the content. So going back to our constructivist theory, we are learning as we do. We are not passively learning. We don't learn unless we search for learning. So that's one aspect. I am learning a full, complete modular course as part of a guidance element within a playbook. However, if we take the principles of microlearning, which is small, digestible chunks of information, might be that actually what is more valuable and is in addition to the module are those small chunks of learning nuggets. So if I go to another component of the playbook, you can see here that this is about the program definition document. I've got my video explainer, our medium, another medium for e-learning. But actually what I've got here are some validation questions. So this is testing my knowledge. This is embedding my understanding of what I've read to make sure that I fully grasp the concept. So I can interact with it. I can go, oh, yeah, I think that's the answer. I can submit it, and fantastic. I now know that that's correct. So from an organisation's perspective, you've got the benefit of the fact that you are validating people's understanding. But actually, from a personal perspective, you know that you're on the right track. So it's a win-win. So that is illustrating how we go about embedding e-learning and learning into elements.
So Alice, on this particular part of your e-learning, what we're looking at here for our users on today that may have never seen Method Grid potentially, are we looking at a whole delivery grid here? Are all of my tasks that I need to do to deliver this project all in the same place as the e-learning?
Yes, exactly. So here, this is a delivery grid. So if I go into one of these component parts, I can see here that I've got the checklist items that I need to do in order to complete this part of the project. So I've got my checklist items, I can tick them off, and this is all within the same place as the e-learning. So a fantastic tool to validate as I go through.
So I can do all of my project management and don't have to go off to my LMS to refresh. Wow.
Yes. So the beauty is that you don't need to have this frantic, oh, I need to go here for one item of learning. I need to go here for my task list, and I need to go here for my knowledge and my guidance. It's all contained within one playbook. So it's all under one umbrella. No more is e-learning sat within an archaic, not underused LMS platform. It's alive, it's dynamic, and it sits directly next to your tasks.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
So that's how you use e-learning and delivery. As Rach said, you've got your tasks, you've got your information, you've got your guidance, all under one roof. However, another way in which we can integrate learning into playbooks is by creating learning hubs themselves and kind of doing it the other way around. So we are creating a learning hub that captures all of our learning in one place. So if I go into a component here, this is a course on managing politically important projects. So here we've got an overview about what that course is all about. We've got a video explainer which explains that course in a little bit more detail. We've got links to key learnings, additional resources and references that take you out to those particular external sources. So this is us combining internal training materials with external sources to provide the user with a lot more rounded overview about that particular subject. And then you've got links to other delivery grids. So this is us flipping it round and saying, actually, I am now linking my training course to the specific delivery grid. So this is us linking two things together. So if I go back to my Learning Hub, I can see here that I have embedded my e-learning course directly into the Learning Hub. So I'm in my Managing Politically Important Projects component, which has outlined what the course is all about, my learning objectives, sources, which delivery grids it relates to. But I can just expand it, I can go into it, and I can complete my course all in one place. I can go through, I can read, I can tick my questions off, and like before, I can share it to people to get them to complete too. So if I close that, you can see we're back to our Learning Hub. So Learning Hubs are a fantastic way of providing more context to learning and training. They provide users with the ability to be able to customize their own learning paths. So you can go in, you can edit, you can tweak based on your specific learning needs. And it provides organizations with the ability to give users more. We saw there that we were able to give users links to useful information that sits outside of the organization. It could be that you want to link to specific people to talk to that relates to that specific subject. So this is providing a very holistic learning experience, all using the microlearning principles that we talked about earlier. So how do we actually do that? How do we embed learning into an element? So if I go into AI training, this is us wanting to embed our AI training module into our element. You can see here we've got our overview, our key focus, our key learnings, exactly like we had before. But here, if we go into our embed functionality, we can go in and we can paste our embed code. We can give it a title. And we can click. And you see here that now our easy to use AI training course has been directly embedded into the element itself. I can instantly go in and start interacting with this course. I can start reading information. I can start looking at the particular component parts of it. And I can then navigate around and complete that course. So it is just as easy as that to embed e-learning into your delivery methods. So this is all e-learning course materials that we've created, but actually it could be that these are e-learning courses that sit within your LMS, and we are just providing users with a much easier way of absorbing and consuming that information.
So if clients come to us and actually don't have an LMS and don't have their own materials, that is something that you as a professional services team are able to support with?
Yes, definitely. And Rich, we'll come on to that in a minute, talk about how we can help clients to realise those benefits.
Great.
But yes, that is something that we can support clients with, and we do support clients with creating content, e-learning materials, video explainers, those knowledge nuggets that we've just seen to help really embed microlearning into delivery.
Amazing.
Brilliant. So You've seen how it's done within our playbooks and how we do integrate learning into delivery. Just to recap, you see we've got learning embedded into delivery playbooks. So we're bringing them into where you manage your tasks, where you manage your information, assigned users to complete particular topics. So this is all us interacting with content and delivery at the same time. Creating knowledge hubs. So we use the knowledge playbook concept to give users training in one place, wrapped around with guidance and useful links and links to potentially delivery playbooks, so where they would apply that learning. But what are the benefits of this? Why would you do this? Why would you as an organization put these microlearning principles into practice? The first thing is around open access, giving users a flexible learning approach. So this is enabling you to not only give internal users access, but if you wanted to, by having these embedded in a playbook type concept, you have the ability to expand your reach, to not necessarily be in the traditional sense of an LMS where you have to go in and assign users to particular training courses. People can learn when they want to about subjects they want to learn about. So it really encourages inclusivity and allows more people to access learning throughout the life cycle of a service delivery or a project. The other thing is you have the ability to make them much more accessible in terms of the content itself. So you can provide different mediums to people. So whether that be video explainers, different types of e-learning content. So it could be quizzes, it could be pictures, it could be, matching words. You can really gamify content to mean that it's open to a much more broader audience. Secondly, it massively is reduced time and cost. So it is the way in which content can be developed is a lot quicker. You can use AI to help generate really easy and exciting courses for people. But not only that, you have the ability to take the content that you've developed within your playbook and build e-learning materials around that specific content. So the key thing is that there is consistency over what you're displaying. So whether you're in that element talking about risk management, you know that your e-learning course reflects your current risk management approach because the content is built around your playbook. So the two very much work hand in hand, rather than one sitting over here and then one sitting over there working in parallel. So it's a much more cost-effective way of delivering training, and it enables users to learn faster. So the time at which they are spending learning is incorporated into their day-to-day activities. So actually they are not sat at a computer for a whole day spending, doing a full modular course. They are trickling that into their everyday practices, which means that it isn't such a time burden. And by doing so, you are enabling a continuous improvement process. Users are currently learning, which means they are constantly identifying new ways of doing it, feeding that back in, and that can be instantly updated to reflect the new ways of doing things. So there's a huge benefit around continuous improvement loop. But what does that mean for the user and the learner that's actually consuming this information? It means that they have much higher job satisfaction because they feel they've got the support they need to do a particular item. So they've been asked to go produce a we saw a PDD, a program definition document. They've been asked to produce one, but actually they need to understand, what does that mean for me? Where do I start? They might be a completely new joiner to an organisation and it's a completely new approach, or they might be an experienced practitioner within the organisation that hasn't actually had to complete one in a number of years. So actually that refresher is of real value to them. You don't get that learning fatigue that you get sometimes, as I mentioned, sat there having to produce and complete course after course. That is not a facilitator to enabling users to learn and learn effectively. So you're completely removing that learning fatigue by embedding learning into delivery. And employees feel empowered. They feel they have the right to control what learning they do and when they do it. So finally, we go back to our constructivist approach and theory. So microlearning based on the fact that we learn through doing. So if you learn as you're doing in your delivery playbook, you have that immediate knowledge application. So you are immediately applying what you learn to your particular role, the particular scenario. So actually that is embedded within your memory, in your long-term memory, to enable you to be able to take that learning and apply it in the future. It also aligns to changing business needs. So the learning can be updated, as I said, very quickly, very easily. So you can shape your learning needs based on what you need to do as a business and an organisation or a particular project. And finally, you're reducing errors. By people learning on the job, you are reducing the time and cost of that poor quality, because people actually understand what they're doing and how they're doing it and why, more importantly. So we are transforming how learners learn and really continuously driving growth, performance, and ultimately employee satisfaction. As Rachel mentioned earlier, we do help clients to realise some of these benefits. And we do that in 3 ways. The first way is around e-learning. So building really dynamic e-learning modules and courses that support key themes that sit within Playbooks, but equally could be standalone courses that align to the business need. So we can react very quickly to that need and shape the e-learning materials as we see fit, working with the clients to customize this learning journey and make it work for them. The other way in which we help clients realize this benefit is through classroom-based learning, whether that's in person or virtually. So this is working with clients to shape materials, e-learning, learning courses that allow us to enable discussion. It could be on a particular subject, but gets us into a bit more detail to allow us to explore things over the course of a classroom-based learning session. And finally, video explainers. So we've talked quite a lot about video explainers, embedding them into Playbooks, how we use them, but video explainers have the ability to be hugely powerful. Going back to the benefits, it's a much more accessible way of people absorbing information. It provides visual components to what could be potentially quite a text-heavy way. It's a 2-minute overview that allows the user to understand and learn about a particular subject. When we worked with Network Rail to develop PACE, we built 62 video explainers that flow through their complete project delivery lifecycle, that draw on particular products, what they are, how they work, and what's the benefit of using them. So we are able to completely customize those and make them bespoke for clients. And to make them even more accessible, we can overlay sign language to those video explainers, so they are available to a much broader audience. So that in its totality is our MetaGrid Academy offering as a service. So it's either you can chop and change and build your own learning package that meets your needs. So, key takeaways. What does this mean, and how can you actually start to do this today? So the first thing is feedback loops. Can you think about ways in which you can make it easier for the learner to give you feedback on your courses? So is there a way in which you can empower them to make them feel like they are helping to shape the learning that they get? Ask them, what do they want? What do they want to hear? How do they want their learning to change? And feedback is a fantastic way of doing that. Are there ways in which you can embed learning into daily task activities? So it might be that it's sat within a MetaGrid delivery playbook, but it could be a way in which you can thread the learning through your stand-up, your daily tasks, working with your team to produce your risk management plan, for example. Are there ways in which the learning that you already have can be embedded into everyday ways of working? How can you make learning more learner-centric? So this is, you could think about ways to incorporate videos, gamification. Can you make it more fun? Who could be you could think about a leaderboard, a ranking system within your team to see who can complete the learning the quickest, or are there different types of learning that can be done to really make that learner get the satisfaction they like from the learning they're completing? And finally, the modules that you've got and that exist, can they be broken down into more manageable chunks? Some of the courses that exist are very lengthy and could potentially be broken down into much more manageable chunks that allow you to do the things like embed it into daily task activities and enable you to make it more learner-centric. So are there quick wins you can do with course content that you already have? So snackable learning really does provide people with the tools they need to deliver exactly when they want to consume it. So they might be sat down for a 3-course dinner at the start to understand the complex content of a topic, whether that be a modular course. But actually what you're getting then throughout the life cycle of a project is that snackable learning. People constantly trickling that information into their experience so that it's really embedded in their learning, is really embedded. So thank you very much. If you've got any questions, please write them on the chat below.
So something that comes up all the time with my clients, Alice, is we just love the idea of video explainers. That sounds amazing, but oh my goodness, they're impossible. We have to sit down and do take after take. It's never right. And even when we get it right, it's out of date within 5 minutes. So what's the point? What is the point of doing all of that? Because it never ends up being valuable. So how do we get around that?
Yeah, really good question, Rachel. You're right. It's something we see a lot, is the full sit down for a record of a person. And that takes time, and it also takes a lot of money to produce a video like that. So we use a combination of factors to massively accelerate that process. So we use AI to help form the basis of scripting. We use an AI avatar, and clients have actually in the past created themselves as an AI avatar. So what that allows us to do is do text to speech. So we can create the script, shape it on the information that we want to see or have seen within the playbook, and we can then enable an avatar, and it is actually surprisingly very realistic, worryingly so, and we can overlay visuals alongside that. So when it comes to maintaining and updating that content, all you need to do is tweak a few words, and actually the avatar then will be updated. So it's as easy as that. And then that can be pushed out to the playbooks, that update. So maintenance is no longer onerous in terms of videos when we use AI to help with that.
I mean, wow, that sounds like it's going to be a huge time saver. The other question that I've had in relation to getting support with building out e-learning courses is, what we do as a company, as a client, is rather complex, and it's quite niche to us. How can a company like MethodGrid just come in and build e-learning courses on our content when you don't work for us, when you don't know that content inside and out? How do you achieve that?
Yeah, so we do take a little bit of time to understand the organization. We work with the client to get an understanding of the subject that they want to convey in an e-learning. But then what we do is we take existing assets, existing information, existing source data, and we use that to piece together the e-learning course in a way that aligns with their expectations. So whether that's it's question focused, or whether there's videos embedded within the course guiding people through using a case study, we use AI to support us to do that, because that's the ability to take whole reams of information and condense it down. As I said, the videos massively saves time and enables us to build courses to a high level of quality, but in a lot quicker time frame. But most importantly, alongside the use of AI, we make sure we are continually validating that content with the client and with the subject matter experts that sit within that organization, to make sure that it is it aligns with how they work and how they would like the course to flow.
With some of my clients, we still have a little bit of that culture of fear around AI. A lot of what you're speaking about there is helped by AI, which is fantastic, and of course is a massive time saver. But is there anything that you offer to my clients that could potentially just help educate, help people understand how AI is used, and that actually it's not as scary as it potentially seems?
Yeah, so as part of our MethodGrid Academy, we do offer capability uplift around AI. So this could be in the form of a classroom-based learning session where we sit with the clients to give them an overview about what AI is, the current challenges that we're seeing, but also provide them with a forum just to ask those questions to us who know and use and interact with AI. So it's not only an educational bit, it's also reassuring. So there are sometimes those silly questions that you don't actually know the answer to, and it's just a really safe environment to do that. But actually what we kind of pride ourselves on is the fact that we are keeping really up to date with the trends in the industry. So we have our colleague Mark, who is doing his doctorate in AI and machine learning. So not only do we have the application side of it, we also have what happens behind the scenes. How does AI actually generate information in a way that's actually, real? How do we get the most out of it? And how do we protect data? How do we set parameters in place that enables data to stay in a very confined spaces? So yeah, we've got both sides of the coin that we're able to give in that AI training session.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Alice. I mean, this has been really, really informative. It's so great to see, where playbooks are going and how much value they can really bring to the people that are on the ground really doing the work.
Yeah.
So it's really fantastic to see. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
So we have had some very exciting news. Over the course of the year, we have been nominated for multiple awards. So we are in attendance at the Lloyds Bank British Business Excellence Awards. We have been nominated for an Innovation Award there. We've also been nominated for the Technology Project of the Year Award at the APM Project Management Awards. We couldn't be prouder. We've also been nominated for Small Business of the Year at the Project Controls Expo Awards. We're also going to be exhibiting at the Project Controls Expo. So please, if you are around on the 5th and 6th of November, we are going to be at Wembley Stadium. Come and say hello. We would absolutely love to see you. We would love to have a chat. To keep up with all of the Method Grid news, the exciting things that are coming on the roadmap, all sorts of things, do pop over to LinkedIn and give us a follow. But also, if you want to learn any more about what we've spoken about today, whether you want to just learn a bit more about playbooks, whether you'd like to catch up on the rest of the GRIDtalk series, pop over to methodgrid.com and you will find all of those resources available to you. You can also book a demo with me and I'll take you through the platform and show you all of the things that we do in real time. We would absolutely love to hear from you, but for now, thank you so much for joining and we will see you next month.
Thanks all.